All right, guys, y'all gonna love this story. Y'all are going to love this story, okay? Because there's a report here from Bloomberg, right? So, hey, some of y'all don't like Bloomberg. Some of y'all might be like, I'm taking this with a grain of salt. And you probably should. But it's a fun story. Trump advisors are telling him to drop Pence for a black or female VP in a potential 2024 run, report says. Woo! What a headline. Former President Donald Trump is seriously considering running for the White House again in 2024, and advisors are pushing him to drop former Vice President Mike Pence as his running mate if he does so, Bloomberg reported. 3 sources told Bloomberg that Pence likely won't be on the ticket should Trump run again. Close advisors want him to go with a black or female vice presidential pick. Sources familiar with the discussions told Bloomberg. 2 advisors single out South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, an ardent Trump defender, per Bloomberg. A person familiar with the matter told Bloomberg that they doubt Pence would run with Trump again, but that Pence hasn't specified whether he's interested or not. Trump teased a 2024 run at last week's Conservative Political Action Conference. When contacted for a comment on Thursday, Trump advisor Jason Miller sent Insider a tweet in which he called the Bloomberg report, quote, fake news, and said no such conversations about a new running mate were happening. Bloomberg said a Pence spokesperson did not respond to its request for comment. All right, so that is some juicy information. Now, Trump advisor Jason Miller says this is fake news, right? Says it's not true, but what I really want to talk about is not whether or not it's actually true, but if this is something that his advisors did tell him, was it the right thing from a political analysis standpoint, purely? Because, again, guys, I mean, a lot of you guys are probably looking at this and saying, isn't this identity politics? Isn't Trump picking a VP based off of their gender, sex, and their race? Isn't that identity politics? Isn't that something that conservatives stand against? And the answer to that question is yes, this is identity politics. What Trump's advisors allegedly, right, are telling him to do is to use identity politics in order to win the election, right, to be more electable. And here's the thing, guys. You guys know where I stand on identity politics. I am not a fan of identity politics because I believe that you should be able to woo over the people, right? You should be able to win people over with your policies. You should be more policy oriented. You shouldn't be trying to, play to the crowd or to code switch or to talk different or to be different. You should be yourself. You should talk about what you believe in, right? Mostly when it comes to policy, right? More than anything, that's primarily what I'm concerned about. That's what the ideal politician should do. However, that is not the world that we live in, folks, right? It's just not the world that we live in. Because really, identity politics in and of itself is politics, okay? When somebody talks about their Christian faith, right, a politician starts talking about their Christian faith, that is identity politics. They are trying to relate to people based off religion. They're using your religious identity to try to identify with you, right? Like, that is identity politics. So as much as people don't want to see it, right, as much as people are against it, it's kind of unavoidable, right? All politicians do it. They all do it, right? They all utilize it in some shape or form. Identity politics just based off race is not the only form of identity politics. And typically when, presidential candidates, right, are considering running mates, what they try to do is that they try to pick a running mate that has a distinct appeal that's different from the main candidate as a way to grab people who otherwise wouldn't vote for the main candidate. So for example, the Democrats, right? The Democrats with Obama and Joe Biden. So Obama was seen as the black guy that's more liberal, right? And he's the main guy on the ticket, right? His running mate, Joe Biden, was chosen because Joe Biden is a more conservative Democrat. Okay? Joe Biden is more conservative and he's an old white guy, right? He's somebody that's been around the block. He's been around Washington. And they did that because that way you can get some Republicans and some more conservative Democrats to feel comfortable with a Barack Obama presidency, with his liberal policies, with race, etc. I'm just saying. I mean, that's literally the reason why Joe Biden and Barack Obama were paired up. That's why, right? And that's an example for the Democrats. But at the same time, the Republicans did it too with Trump, right? When Trump chose Mike Pence as his running mate, it was based off the fact that Mike Pence is an establishment guy. He's an establishment guy who is very religious, right? He's very by the book. He's a by the book dude, okay? He's put together, okay? He's been around the block. He's very, very conservative. Mike Pence is very conservative. They saw Trump as less conservative, more kind of out there, right? In terms of certain policies, in terms of his demeanor, how he goes about doing things. Mike Pence was supposed to be the counterbalance. He's the more reserved guy. The guy that's going to make the evangelicals and the more conservative religious base feel good. That's literally what the thought process is. That's how they do it. This is all done based off identity politics. But, you know, I would say in terms of Trump in 2024, in terms of who he should pick the best candidate, right? He should pick the best candidate that's going to mesh well with him and that's going to work with him, right? Now, in an ideal world, he doesn't consider race or gender. He just picks the person that's going to work well with him and that's the most qualified to lead this country. Okay? But I think that people got to understand that at the same time, Trump is trying to win an election, right? And when you're trying to win an election, sometimes you got to try to appeal to those who aren't necessarily a part of your party, who otherwise would not vote for you. You see what I'm saying? If you're trying to win, okay? So I'm not arguing for identity politics at all. That's not the point of this video. I'm not arguing for it. I mean, I think candidates should be chosen strictly based off policies, right? Policies and the most qualified. But at the same time, what you got to understand about politics is that politics in and of itself, there's no way to take identity out of politics. It's impossible because that's what politics is based off of. And it's unfortunate that that's the way it currently is. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish it wasn't that way. I wish it was just about policy. I wish it was just about credentials. I wish it was just about qualifications. I really do. But, you know, all this is to say I wouldn't blame Trump if 2024 came around and he ended up selecting a candidate that's a woman or somebody that's black. I wouldn't blame him for it. But overall, I hope that he selects the most qualified person. But if they do it based off that, I understand why. I get it. So this was an interesting conversation. And I think this was interesting to talk about because I think that, you know, we still don't know whether or not Trump's running in 2024. But, you know, his vice presidential pick, if he actually runs, because we know he's going to win the Republican primary, that will be an interesting choice. That would be something interesting to see, right? So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.